Crime and Punishment, an audio revision guide. Circa 1000 to 1500. Anglo-Saxons used the hue and cry, where the entire village pursued a criminal or the village had to pay a heavy fine. They formed tithings, groups of 10 men. If one broke the law, the others had to bring him to justice or face a fine. Manor courts were run by the thanes and used a local jury. If there was not enough evidence, a local jury could judge based on the character of the person facing prosecution. If the jury could not reach a decision, the Saxons could use a trial by ordeal, where God was asked to decide. These trials included cold water, where the accused was lowered into pure cold water. If they sunk, they were innocent, but if they floated, then they had been rejected by the pure water and were guilty and evil. Men could be asked to pick up an object in boiling hot water, while women could be asked to walk 3 paces with a red-hot weight. In both cases, the wound was bandaged, and if it healed cleanly, then they were judged innocent. In a more bizarre trial, a priest blessed a loaf of bread. If it was choked on, they were considered guilty. This was called trial by blessed bread. All trials by ordeal took place in or near a church, with a priest present. Punishments varied. Mutilation was used for reoffenders, but in most cases the punishment was in the form of wergild, a fine paid to the victim or their family. The value of the fine changed depending on the crime. For example, the loss of an eye was worth more than a broken arm. This was a better option than the blood feud. However, wergild was not entirely fair. A nobleman was worth more money than a peasant, for example. Capital punishment was used for traitors. After the Norman conquest, the justice system was changed by William the Conqueror. Though the hue and cry and tithings were kept, there were several significant changes. Fines were now paid to the king's officials instead of to the victim or their family. A criminal could now seek sanctuary, fleeing to a church. They were given 40 days to either face trial or leave the country. Choosing to leave the country meant that the criminal had to walk to the nearest port, barefoot and carrying a wooden cross, to depart on the first ship leaving the country. While they kept trial by ordeal, the Normans also introduced trial by combat, which was usually not available for those accused of violent crimes. The accuser fought the accused, and God determined the victor. The loser was hanged if they had not already died fighting. Church courts were established, and anyone who could memorize a verse from the Bible was entitled to a trial in one of these more lenient courts, who never sentenced anyone to death. In normal courts, capital punishment was used for serious crimes in reoffenders. Royal judges visited counties twice a year to judge serious cases. If a dead Norman was found outside a village, the villagers would have to prove that they were all innocent or pay a hefty fine, called the murdering fine. The forest laws also proved unpopular, outlawing hunting. In the later Middle Ages, village constables were introduced. These were annually appointed, unpaid, and well-respected members of the community. Coroners, royal officials, were also brought into the system. All unnatural deaths had to be reported to them for further investigation. Each county also had a sheriff who, if the hue and cry had failed, was responsible for assembling a posse to hunt down criminals. Trial by ordeal was ended in 1215. Manor courts, local courts which dealt with minor crimes, were also used, but royal judges travelled the county hearing serious cases. In both courts, the juries were from the local area. Minor crimes were mostly punished by fines paid to the king's officials, but certain crimes were punished with stocks and pillories. These crimes included selling weak beer or underweight bread. Whipping was also used in public, to deter criminals with a threat of public humiliation. Henry VIII split with the Catholic Church in order to get a divorce, instating himself as the head of the Church of England. Those who refused to accept this split were executed. Edward VI widened this split, passing laws requiring worship to be carried out in the Protestant style. Mary, however, wanted a Catholic England, ordering the burning of nearly 300 Protestants. Elizabeth I was a Protestant and at first allowed some compromises to the Catholics. However, England remained firmly Protestant. Later, Catholics were fined for not attending church and could be imprisoned for taking part in Catholic services. However, these laws were not well enforced. After various plots to kill her and replace her with a Catholic monarch, some 250 Catholics were executed for treason. James I also faced numerous plots to overthrow him. The most famous, of course, was the Gunpowder Plot. Robert Catesby and some other Catholics, including Guy Fawkes, devised a plot to overthrow James I. Guy Fawkes placed 36 barrels of gunpowder underneath the Houses of Parliament, but an anonymous letter sent to the Catholic Lord Monteagle, warning him not to attend, was passed on to Robert Cecil, the King's chief minister. Fawkes was found and tortured, revealing the names of the other plotters. Some were killed in the fighting before they were captured, but others were taken to London, put on trial and sentenced to be hanged, drawn and quartered.